Shanghaied in Xian. Well, originally, Shanghai meant that you'd been captured, put on a boat, and indentured as a slave for an indefinite period of time. Well, that's not what happened to me, and that's not what I'm speaking about right now this morning. But I am speaking about the Shanghai in the sense that you were forced into a position to do something you wouldn't ordinarily do. Years ago, my husband and I planned a fabulous trip to China. Now, we knew, planning this trip, that it would be very difficult to navigate China on our own. Because if you know the Chinese language, verbally and written, it's very difficult for Americans to understand. So in each of the 4 cities that we decided to attend, we had a private guide and a private car. So we knew we would be fine. We planned to go to 4 cities, as I said: Hong Kong on the shore, Beijing in the north, Xian that's in the middle, and Guilin that's in the south region. Well, we were having a great time in Hong Kong because we had our best friend that lived there. He had a wonderful apartment and we felt very comfortable. Then we flew to Beijing. It was great because we had a private tour guide, picked us up in a private car. We went to the Great Wall of China. My goodness, we went to Tiananmen Square. Everybody knows about the protests that happened there. So we felt very comfortable and very knowledgeable. And as we arrived back at our hotel one evening, we even saw A&W, the fast food restaurant. We were so excited. We could do this on our own. So we ran across the street and we ordered a root beer float. By picture, of course, because we didn't know how to communicate what we wanted. But victoriously, we gulped down our root beer, sort of, float. The next day, we traveled to Xian. It was a beautiful old city, and again, we had a tour guide that was just wonderful. And we had studied a lot about the terracotta warriors there, so we felt very comfortable. And she was even letting us, go in front of her or behind her, so we were feeling, again, very comfortable. The next morning, we had 2 hours to kill before we left for Guilin. The 2 hours were to pack. But my husband spied a mosque outside of our hotel. Well, if you can order a root beer float in China by pointing at a picture, certainly you can go navigate to a mosque. We went outside. It was raining, but that didn't bother us. The alleys were very narrow to get to this mosque, and on each side there were vendors. They had put their wares on shoddy and sort of unstable tables. And as my husband, who is 6'4", ran through the alleyway, he accidentally knocked one of the tables. And the wares sort of fell onto the floor. Well, he didn't notice it, but I did, and I stopped to pick up the wares and apologized to the vendor. And all of a sudden, he was off and running, and he jumped on my husband. And my husband was so surprised, he took his elbow and knocked him off the vendor into the floor. And I noticed that all of the other vendors were slowly surrounding us. Well, we didn't know how to communicate. Remember how comfortable we felt? Not at this point. So we asked for a policeman. Little did we know they had already alerted the police. And we were escorted with this huge entourage of vendors to what they call the public security station. There, our guide found us a little bit later. She was not very happy to see us, but we were ecstatic to see her. She told us we had 2 options. We could wait there in the jail for 2 to 3 days until they arranged a trial, or we could take the verdict of the then present magistrate, and we would have to accept that verdict. Well, I looked at my husband, and he looked at me, and we knew we had been Shanghaied in Xian because we had to accept the verdict. Our guide gave our defense and then entered the vendor. We wondered where he'd been. He'd been at the hospital to get a CT scan to make sure there was no brain injury. The magistrate, to our disbelief, favored the vendor with his verdict. We were forced to pay $255 for the CT scan and the huge turban of gauze, and $81 for the trinkets that had been on the floor. That was exactly the amount of money that we had on us that we had told our guides about. But the main retribution was a public apology by my husband in front of the entire neighborhood. He had to bow very low with hands in a prayer position and apologize profusely to the vendor. And then we were set free. Later that day, we left Xian, knowing, or at least feeling, we had been Shanghaied in Xian. We had a wonderful, magical time in Guilin, our next stop. And we almost forgot that we had been Shanghaied in Xian, except we never left our guide's side.